Welcome to Insight Talks, brought to you by Outlook in association with Johnson Tiles. This is a conversation series with architects and designers. It's not typically about their landmark projects or awards they won. It's about them as a person, as a creator, a master, and a learner. The interviews are taken by filmmaker Aradhana Seth in very informal and free-flowing style. And let me tell you, every conversation has very interesting and inspiring stories. Hello and Namaste. I am Dinesh Vyas and once again I welcome you to the Insight Talks brought to you by Outlook in association with Prism Johnson. In this episode, Aradhana Seth is in conversation with Pune-based veteran architect Mr. Rajeev Vishwasrao. He has created some of the finest education campuses with great passion, which include creative and convincing amalgamation of heritage setup with modern expansion. Although he is a man of few words, in conversation with Insight team, he has talked about everything in his professional life, starting with how he came to architecture and what made him to score top marks in his master's degree course from School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. He has given valuable insights about materiality and also told where young designers should pay more attention to excel in architecture practice. His talks are simple but immersive. I am sure you would enjoy his conversation. Let us join him at Insight Studio.
Can you tell me about how you got into architecture, Rajeev, and where you grew up and where you went to study architecture?
When I was in school, I think about probably 5th or 6th standard, we used to have one neighbor and they used to have one regular architect visiting them. He would come with a Fiat with a beautiful wife. So I had that kind of image.
Fiat was a beautiful wife.
Or both. My uncle is an artist. My father was in mechanical design, but he used to design ships shapes and all that. So we used to have this kind of a painting and artistic background in my house. And when I finished my schooling, my uncle took me to the architecture college. That is the only architecture college in Pune. One of the best, of course. And he introduced to me the teachers and all that. Then I carried on. I used to do a lot of paintings. I won many competitions in paintings, state level competitions, many awards. So I carried all the paintings with me and showed it to him. And he said, "This is what I do." Then I said, "Look, do you know something like this is not architecture." So he said, "This is a combination of art and the science." I said, "Fine." I mean, I was quite, but I never tried any other course. I straight away went to architecture. And he said, "Fine." I mean, it was so simple, as I said. The admission was just, okay, start joining, fill some forms, no tests and nothing. But he was also impressed with so many paintings and this and that. He was very happy, but that's how the whole journey started. Our college was very interesting. We used to have one of the best architecture students what someone can have. Personal attentions, they're really talented. And that was one of the best college of at least Maharashtra, after JJ of course. I was the youngest in the classroom. So at the age of 20 I was architect. That will not happen now. Then I went to Delhi. That changed whole my life and outlook over there, because we met so many students from all over India. We had national competition, and then in some of the argument I said, "Look, don't worry." They used to say, "Pune mein kya hota hai?" It's just no one heard of Pune, this and that. I said, "I'll be the topper in the college." Then consecutively all 4 semesters I had a gold medal, distinction, and the first rank throughout. I realized that the other kids were more talkative and the basic design ideas and those kind of concepts they used to lack.
When you graduated from the School of Planning and Architecture, how did you how did you move forward from there?
In my final year jury, Charles was my jury member, and he was quite impressed with the kind of it was a very revolutionary kind of a thesis I had. They used to ask us to go and visit the DDA housing. I realized that 90% people are either resold or they're coming from outside. None of the original were there. So I started getting hint that this housing is not suitable for whom it is designed. See, government will have so many benefits, they will have discounts and all. Moment housing is allotted, there will be some other person coming. So I said this means that whatever government policies and the design is not matching each other. So on that this thing, I took a full thesis. I took a lot of international literature, and then I proved to the DDA authority that look, there is a huge turnover is required in terms of your planning. Then only it can go to real resources. So that Charles liked. So he said, "What are you doing after your guys?" I said, "Nothing." So he said, "Why don't you just come and meet me? You can say hello and all." So I went there. I met Charles, and fortunately for me, Charles had 2-3 projects where he needed planner. There was one project in Hussain Sagar Lake Development, Hyderabad. You heard of it? It's a project around the lake. That was a very nice project. Then second was in Indore, where he need someone who has a housing background and can actually develop in planning. And there was one more in Kerala. And the interesting story is that he was just leaving for his abroad tour. He used to go for a training abroad, and he was not there for 1 month. So he gave me 3 files, one Kerala, one Hyderabad and one Indore. He gave me 3 files, he gave me air tickets, and he said, "Bye bye, I'm going, I'm coming after 1 month."
And you go and see and look.
Yeah, you go, you visit, you talk to the client, and once I come back, I want to have presentation. So that gave me full 1 month of preparation.
So, how did working with Charles' career then change the course of your life and your architectural practice?
It was a complete turnaround for me. Like from SPA gave me a solid academic background, and when I worked with Charles, we used to work day and nights. I was a bachelor, and completely slogged under his strict supervision. So that changed my whole outlook about architecture, design. How do you go about it? Because he was so sincere. Of course, that time he was not so well known, but we saw his passions on everything, like whether it's a small house or 3-room house or bungalow. But he used to put his 100% energies there, and without worrying. I mean, twice his office was getting closed because there was some issues with the contract and he didn't have enough fees. So when he went to the office was closed. So all those financial difficulties, he never compromised on the quality of architecture. Always one of the best projects were done at his toughest time. That was a lot of qualities about him, and that we actually tried to carry it, of course, when we do the practice. Of course, after that, I worked with Christopher Manager for 2 years. That time I was married. When I came to Pune, I was married, and I wanted to seriously start the practice. But I didn't want to work with the builders and this and that. So I want to do a genuine institutional stuff. And Christopher called me. So we started working together. All his initials, about 10 projects I did. So after 2 years again, I told him, look, I think this is what I can do, and I want to really start my own practice. So that gave me a good 2 years of time with a lot of patience and think about practice. You don't rush up. The problem with the younger architects is that they'll take up this project and that project, and they will learn it very hard way. So at least with me, with Charles and Christopher's setup, I was never confused, or I had a straight direction, and I moved like that.
Architecture and technology are linked. Where, in what ways do you see the pros and cons of that?
There is a lot of scope of involving all these technologies in the proper design, but thing is, you need some expertise before you start executing it. You have to work on it before you advise client. You have to experience that kind of a technology. We cannot just put it and throw it on the client head. first of all, we should be sure as to how does it work.
And how you are using it.
Yes.
How you are using your mind to interact.
Yes. Like simple, like yesterday, day before Sunday, I had inaugurated one of my project was inaugurated by Dr. Mashelkar. He's a Padma Bhushan. He's one of the leading scientists of India, and I did a center for girls and boys as a training center for them to learn various skills. It's a central courtyard, but it was open to on south and also on the west, and south and north. And when we're standing on any of the part of the building, you'll feel that current of air, because the courtyard was covered with the skylights, and anyone can feel that tunnel. And then each room I will have ventilators, so that will give them a cross ventilation. So all these techniques we have to actually experience ourselves, prove, and then only we can actually deliver it to the client. But technology wise, if you see, we have to now worry about there's so much of advanced technology in the lifts, in the solar power generations, electrical also. There are so many advancements are coming up in plumbing also. People are reaching to new materials, new techniques. We have to like we don't have to know each and every detail because there are consultants. Now you have to see how do you inspire those consultants and let them coordinate with you. Like structural also, you see kind of advancement in the structural design is endless. It's endless in terms of new techniques, and so we have to cope up with that. So technology is not like IT. You take up some app and you take up some software and start using it. It doesn't happen like that. So first of all, you have to digest it, experience it, evaluate it, have your own thinking. Then only you can recommend to the, whether it's a tile or anything,
What do you think in terms of flooring materials?
Like when I started practicing, it was only natural stone. Whether we have a polished kota, tandoor, and maximum was granite and marble. But slowly with shortage of resources, natural material is going. And then there is also a lot of disadvantage about whether you take kota, tandoor, they are quite greyish, and like for a major institutional area, they give a dull feeling. It's nice to have a natural feel, but so I think vitrified tile and ceramic tile, that's the only answer now. There cannot be any other solution to that, but they need a lot of development in terms of technology, the workmanship issues, slipperiness, all those. So there's a lot of scope of advancement.
And what you feel exists and what you feel needs changing.
See, one thing I realized ki most of these tiling market is catering to only builders. But I am not in that line. That is my first problem. So I have to actually fight everywhere and convince them ki what I want. When I do a public building, I cannot use this. I need non-slippery tiles with some frictions. But the problem is that if it is more rough, then you have maintenance issues. If you make it gloss, you slip. So we have to find a solution in between where you get a grip, but it's easy to maintain. So that's a big challenge. Also, with the large areas, the tile starts to come off. With the heat, difference in the temperature, expansion, contraction, the tile starts coming out. So all those things we have started now, but the challenge is how to make it tile bigger and don't warp it, because slowly it will happen. Like this was quite big when I started practicing, but now this is too small. Now they go for
4 by 8.
4 by 8 and 8.
But the question about the 4 by 8 is, do people know how to lay it? Because I feel like the big ones need quite a lot of.
Yes.
The way it's laid is critical.
That size, they keep on. There's a warping, there's a level differences, so that technique has to be known to the mason, otherwise it's not possible.
Can you tell us about your building and about them stylistically, architecturally, stylistically, and also about the material use?
See, when I, of course, with the Charles background and Christopher's background, I concentrated on the public building. The main reason, because I don't want to criticize my other friends, but they only deal with the, say, 2% of the society. That is the reason I think architects are not recognized in society at par with, let's say, whatever, dance or music, The reason is that our reach is very limited. We have to reach to the society and prove them ki what is the architect's worth of, whether it's a railing, whether it's a just step, what is the riser and trade proportion. That makes a hell of a difference as far as the climbing is concerned.
Yes.
There's a lot of relation between those sizes, width, railing design, toilet design. There's so many challenges are there. So, but architects don't want to take that challenge. They want to put Italian marble there. They want to put 10,000 rupees spout there and call it as a nice design. That is not, according to me, is not good. All my clients are 100-year-old average. Whether you take Ferguson College, whether it's BMCC, whether you take Wadia College, whether you take Maharishi Karvi Samstha, you heard of it? Maharishi Karvi Samstha. Then we have Law College, we have Ayuka. Ayuka is 40 years old, they are the youngest, but otherwise all my clients are around 100 age. So when I started practicing, they were fed up with all the architects, they had a standard pattern of architects who will not bother about cost, will not about the technology of getting that building done, nice, estimation, tenders. It was not there. So I said, look, I must start doing that. So slowly I started working with Ferguson College. They recommended BMCC. So the word of mouth, I get most of the reputed institutes who are not commercially minded, who are very genuine, who are known. They are like dadas in education fields. And I enjoyed that kind of work where we have a lot of inputs on the planning of that building in terms of natural light. Our building never needs artificial lights. All natural lights. Ventilation, we take care of we have a lot of techniques how to use this natural ventilation with simple fans here and there. That is enough. You don't need air conditioning. So that is, in my sense, is true green buildings. When I work with Charles, you also must be knowing that he'll always have so many courtyards here and there, and he will use it very nicely. So that I transferred into my kind of buildings with nice courtyards. Even in the passage we give cutouts. What we do is, in the passage we have cutouts, and then that cutouts will have a turbo ventilator at top. So what the turbo ventilator will do is it will suck all the hot air from cutouts, take to the terrace, and while doing that, I always give ventilator to the rooms. Once the ventilator is open, it will take all the heat and it will take to the terrace. That works so well. Almost we do a lot of hostels for the education. That works so nice because even if you give such a large windows, if you don't have escape of that hot air, it doesn't work. You follow what I'm saying? So unless you have that cross ventilation, giving bigger windows doesn't have any sense. So with all these kind of techniques, we developed our own style of designing building, and that's working quite nice.
If you were starting off today, what would you advise young architects to do?
If it is a single room, it's a 2-room flat, or it's a 3-room flat, put your heart. Just see that each window, each door is well thought out. That's all. And just wait for a result. Don't worry. It will come to you. You don't have to do anything. Just do whatever you're doing. Do it sincerely with a lot of open mind and exploit all that thing, and it will come to you. It doesn't matter if it is doing builder's work. Just choose builder properly. The experience matters. See, I always tell, even if you go to bathroom, count tiles, see whether it's a 4 feet, 4 feet 3 inches, or 4 feet 6 inches, and try and perceive that. See, your decision makes a lot of difference to the person who's using it. Now, all my tables are 28 inches high, and the standard is 30 inches.
Yes.
With the 30 inches, you have a problem with your ankles and this and that.
Yeah.
So those kind of observations are very important. But when you're climbing, I said always carry a tape. If you're walking and if you're comfortable with the stick, count the steps. Why a window sill has to be always 3 feet? I don't know. Architecture is a common sense actually. Whether it's an interior or architecture, it's purely a common sense with your design perception. That's all. You see how do you improve the working condition with your design skill. That's all.
Could you tell me more in detail about technically or architecturally or design or engineering, more details of the way that you've been doing your buildings?
Let's take a corridor. Like we do a lot of hostels, and first of all, if you have a long corridor, it's very boring. Then it is dark means you had it. So how do you make that corridor and that passage or that, that kind of journey? How do you make it interesting? We have very simple rules. What we do is, at the end of the corridor, you will always have a big window where you see view outside. So you know what is the time of the day, etc., etc. You see something happening. That is first. Second thing is, never make those corridors parallel. We always stagger the rooms in such a way that you have staggered space. Then within staggered space, we have those cutouts. You see natural light coming. At the fourth floor also, you get a nice natural tunnel coming down. You can paint it bright. Then we make a small katta around that cutout. So people are sitting there. They have a chit chat. You need interaction. You need people to come together. You need brightness. You need identity. Then we keep, like, each floor we have bright paints. Now even my Ferguson college also demanding that no, we must have bright paint. They were very orthodox and typical Pune kind of thing. But I taught them how to use bright yellow and bright red, and they are demanding now. And we do a lot of heritage building. Like in Pune, in fact, I am the only architect who is dealing with almost 6 to 7 heritage class 1, class 2 buildings, where I have to fight with the heritage committee. And see, their outlook is very simple. They made it very simple. They said, look, if it is a BMCC, the new building has same height like existing building. It should look like an old building. It should look like a stone building. The window proportion has to be same. Door has to be same. I said, look, how can you do this? It's kind of a shortcut, and this is the wrong way of looking at it from the heritage point of view. This is not heritage. This is copying heritage building. And I said, I cannot have the door stone masonry.
And times have changed and things are different.
So I said, you have to accept certain technologies that from dressed stone, how do I make? I can understand ki you want to give that look from the distance, and it shouldn't look like something totally out of the way. So we had so many innovations. We had stone kit plaster. Then I had a rough kadapa pasted on the concrete block and using it as stone masonry. Then third thing, recently we did doing a building where we are actually cutting a basalt stone, 1 inch thick basalt stone, and chemical pasting on that. It looks exactly like a door. Being a heritage project, it should not be a kind of disadvantage to them. You must encourage them to grow, because they are very good. Like BMCC is one of the best in India. And you cannot do this. So, and they agreed. It depends upon the commissioner to commissioner. We have a new commissioner who is very bright and good. He allowed us 5 floors. Old BMCC is 2 floors. But we have to fight. But we are also doing for Maharishi Karve Samstha. We are also doing for Wadia. Whole Wadia campus is in heritage. Wadia College, you heard? Is owned by Wadia Group.
Right.
Is about 120 years old college. And they have a lot of heritage buildings there. Then we are supposed to do additional buildings, taking some clues from the old building, Even Pune University, I did the whole master plan of Pune University, 400 acres. And the issue was that it's a historic project, and university was coming up with 30 projects, out of which we were doing 5 projects. And no one knew how to go about it. So, for some part, they appointed Christopher Benninger, and we were old friends. Then I gave them a clue. I said, look, I can help university, and I know Christopher. So we had some tie with Christopher and university, and we did a wonderful master plan.
But I would like you to tell me a little bit about your views on green architecture.
See, we always have these issues of basically environmental friendly kind of architecture, but after working with Charles and Christopher, it is part of the design. There is nothing that you take green architecture and try to implant on the building.
Among flooring options, which ones do you see the most potential in today, and are ceramic tiles one of them?
I think vitrified tiles has the biggest future. as far as the flooring material is concerned, whether it's a dado or flooring, because it's an artificial product, and in terms of size we have so much of a choice, in terms of texture we have so many choice, and the best part is that it gives a very light reflecting quality which natural material doesn't have. Of course, with the resources we cannot think of natural material now. So I think vitrified tile or ceramic tile, what you used to call it, has the biggest feature. Abroad you see they only use vitrified tiles, you know that, because you have so many choices of colors, you choose so many choices of textures, so many choices of sizes, and with the technology I think the biggest challenge is how do you make it level tile, let it not grow in terms of heat, and expansion contraction has to be minimum, the absorption has to be minimum, the abrasion has to be highest. If you follow that, and if you follow that leveling part of the tile, and that is the biggest feature I can see, because there cannot be any competition. Forget about marble and granite, because how many people are using it? Like we used to use polished kota and polished granite for the staircase. Now with this vitrified tiles and Johnson's whatever riser and trade we use, we have completely changed because it has very nice abrasion on the tread, so you feel very nice when you climbing or going down. You need that friction. If you have polished granite, you feel slippery, and with our educational building we cannot take that risk of someone slipping. So wherever I used to use granite or kota, everywhere we have changed it to vitrified tiles with the trade and risers. It has worked very nice. They are a bit expensive right now, but I don't think we have much choice.
And these all the educational institutions you're doing at the moment, what has been mostly the materials used?
If we start with the masonry, I think we have either choice of fly ash bricks or AAC block, what you call. It's a lightweight concrete blocks. But in the plaster now we changed quite a bit, because you have such a good quality of concrete that the basic concrete you don't need to plaster actually. Whatever concrete you do for ceiling or for the beam, we don't plaster, because for plastering you have to do a tacha. That is actually weaken the concrete. So what we do is we just have one coat of paint which will take the plaster of Paris and just do a finishing. That's all. That is enough. That happens to the AAC block also. Like AAC block doesn't have to have plaster from inside, but we can straight away apply gypsum and forget it. So that's how the technology grows. Then also for the door frames, we used to have teak wood everywhere. Now the teak wood is finished, but we get very good quality of hardwood door frames, which are excellent in terms of adhesion, in terms of screw fitting, the grip, and they can be installed at very easily at any moment of time. And they cover the both. It's about 1 feet of wide, so they cover both corners of plaster, so that those corners never get damaged. Then also windows, like when I started practice, it used to be all steel windows. Then we have aluminum windows now. Aluminum windows also have so many variations. We have UPSC, and there is a lot of technology going on, a lot of advancements going on. So we have to be very alert in all this and put it in the best cost perspective. It can't be just advanced technologies and start paying any amount of money. That doesn't happen in my case at least. So we have to be conscious on technology and the cost. At least 2-3 years you should work with good architects and try to grab whatever you can, and then you go on your own. I mean, that is enough. But if you try to experiment on your own, then your client will be sufferer. So it's better that you always work with 2-3 years for good architects and try to catch up, and always enjoy. I mean, whatever you do, if you cannot enjoy, then forget it. I mean, then you do something else. Like Charles used to say, you can always start your vada pav center. If you cannot enjoy, then forget it. See, as an architect, the best part is that what do we do is we visualize that building. Of course, right now we have 3Ds and all that, but before 3D, we had everything in our mind. We had sketch, we had drawings, but our job is that to visualize that, conceive that, and then put it on actual use. So that process is only that time only we know. Client, okay, he can see view and he cannot experience how do you enter, how do you go through the passage, how do you climb the staircase and this and that. But as an architect, that is your responsibility to visualize that, make it on the drawing paper, instruct your contractor and see that it is actually happening on site. With cost, with so many statutory rules, with all that framework, you have to see that it is happening. That is the biggest joy. I mean.
These insight talks will acquaint you with the architect's professional approach, values that they respect and expect, their philosophy, and above all, how they look at life, other people, and this very planet. Let us join the respected professional at Inside Story. And just to add, Prism Johnson is engaged with the fraternity of designers in multiple ways, which includes publication of reputed journal Insight. You can also receive very rich and professional content by subscribing to the newsletter from insidereview.in. Thank you very much.